Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. The topic this time is how to avoid common legal billing and trust accounting pitfalls. This webinar is hosted by the ABA Legal Technology Resource Center, and speaking today will be Rick Cabra of Cosmolex. The Legal Technology Resource Center is an ABA member benefit provided by the ABA Law Practice Division. The LTRC has been providing lawyers with legal technology guidance for more than 25 years. You can find a variety of legal technology articles, guides, videos, and other resources on our website at www.lawtechnology.org or our blog, lawtechnologytoday.org. Dr. Rick Cabra is CEO of Cosmolex, the developers of cloud-based legal billing and trust accounting systems specifically designed for solo and small law firms. Rick has a PhD in electrical engineering and has over 10 years of experience in the legal software industry catering to the specialized technology needs of small to mid-sized law firms. Rick has given numerous seminars and published articles on legal technologies such as law practice technology management, cloud computing, and legal billing and trust accounting compliance. Cosmolex's mission is to help attorneys use technology to simplify law firm operations. Cosmolex integrates time tracking, billing, collection, and trust accounting functions, allowing lawyers to focus on the practice of law. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll now begin the webinar.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you so much for a wonderful introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very excited to present today a webinar on most common legal billing and trust accounting issues at law firms, especially at solo and small law firms. Now, as most of you are solo and small firms, I'm very confident that as you become more aware of some of these issues, and you will be able to devise solutions, in your current system, which will then help you in improving your operations. So with that, let's begin. Now, my first chart is, I always like to start with something which gets attention, which is, does this seem familiar? Now, of course, the answer is no, right? This may not be what your office looks like, but, I bet, and I know many, many small firms where often on many days, this is how work-life feels. Today, we are going to look at 8 billing and trust accounting issues, which are very prevalent in small law firms. And we'll kind of go about the root cause of the issues, what can you do, and how to go about perhaps, simplifying some of those issues. Now, apart from the charts, which you're going to see on my screen, I will also use for the purpose of demonstration of various concepts. I'll be using the Cosmolex cloud software. As was mentioned, Cosmolex is a cloud-based legal practice system, which is designed especially for solo and small firms. Now, there are other products in the market as well. It doesn't really matter as much what you use, as long as you are aware of the issues and as long as you know how to get about finding the solutions of that. So with that, let's get started. I'll cover about 30 minutes, and then we'll take the QA questions at the end. So the number one issue, pitfall number 8, and I'm going to go make my way down to all the way to the most important issues. Pitfall number 8, not using matter-based record keeping. Now, matter-based record keeping is unique to law firms. Almost any other service business, they use the client-based record keeping. Now, why it is so unique to law firms? Primarily because various rules and various ethics requirements require attorneys to track everything at the matter level. And even if a client has multiple matters, you still are required to track all the details at that each and specific matter. Now, this issue is often the source of many other problems. So, I start with this even because if we can understand this issue and fix it, many other complications down the road do not arise to begin with. So you need a system, you need your back-end system that forces to keep everything: time tracking, expense tracking, retainers, billing, payments, trust accounts, all other transactions matter-based. And if you are forced to select matter for these activities, then, as I said, many of the complications and the mixing of various items would not arise to begin with. Many of the generic systems which are not designed for law offices cannot solve this issue because those systems are not designed to account for a matter-based record-keeping system. So, words sometimes do not communicate exactly what we are trying to say. So let me show you a peek at Cosmolex system, and to give you an idea about specific to pitfall number 8, what we are talking about. So I'm going to flip my screen, and you should be able to see the Cosmolex the web page, which is the application which I'm logged in right now. And what you see on this page is the list of, this is my demo account, the list of clients I have. So I got 3 clients here, and their associated matters, which let's say I'm working on. And so if at this particular time, let's say if I click on time entry, please select a matter first. So again, the point of illustration here is this, that if you do not know the matter, if you cannot select the matter, then many of the common activities which we just talked about, you cannot even complete those, you cannot even begin those, and that kind of simplifies down the road many other issues, balances, funds getting mixed up, and whatnot. So you have time entry, expense entry, any kind of retainer balances, all these common activities which you do all the time. You are required to first select what the matter is. Okay, let's go to the next item, which is in this particular series is, now once you have a matter-based record-keeping system in place, right, the next big thing then is to be aware of 4 most important matter balances. All the time you need to keep track of that. What those 4 would be: unpaid amounts. These are the amounts which you already billed out and you are waiting for the collection. Unbilled amounts, very important, and oftentimes we lose track of that. This is the amount of work which you already have recorded in your system. Could be the time, could be expenses, could be any kind of things which are going on those particular matters, which are yet to be billed. It's very critical to keep track of those. And then operating retainer balances, the money which you are depositing as a client advance in your business account, or trust retainer balances. This is the money into the client trust account for that particular matter. Keeping track of these balances, all of these 4 balances have significant effect on your billing, collection, and basically in your profitability. So for a second, if I go back to the application, one thing you'll notice is that with each and every matter, these 4 balances are right there for you. So like, for example, if I select this one, I don't need to go look around anywhere else. These are the 4 balances which we talked about, which are right here. And the beauty about this is that this is not something which you need to compute. This is done by the system. So if you use a system, which can track all these things, a lot of issues which you kind of spend time figuring it out. For example, a practical suggestion, like for example, if I'm working on a matter where unbilled balance is piling up, maybe there are a lot of people working in the law firm, a lot of activities are going on, a lot of expenses are being incurred. Maybe you do not want to wait for the month end and then do the billing. Maybe you want to send in bill right now. Maybe you want to just ask for an advance or something. But if you don't keep track of that, then you would never know. And so, for example, let's say if I pick this matter and I say expense, and let's say I record courier fee, and let's say we spent $72 sending a courier to somewhere, and I save it. Now that amount automatically got added into my unbilled amount. And so down the road, when I prepare the invoice for this matter, then all of these entries which we were doing are already captured for. So it's something which a system like this, a system, no matter how you do your books, keeping track of these 4 balances is critical as far as the matter-based record keeping goes. Let's move on. Pitfall number 7, not able to handle different type of bills seamlessly. Now, it is very common for law offices to practice in multiple areas. And, some could be, you might be doing family law, let's say, could be hourly billing. You might also be doing some kind of a fixed fee type of work in the same practice. Often there's also some collection and contingency type of work as well going on. And your system, why this is so critical? Because accounting for retainers, time, expenses, all of these will vary depending upon the nature of the matter in question. So, for example, let's say there is a contingency case you have. Well, the settlement funds are first going to go into the trust account, and all your expenses you will need to consolidate that and produce a statement, which then will be required to submit as part of the final disbursement. You have a fixed fee case. Well, you might be recording time for internal purpose, for your internal tracking purpose, but that time needs to be non-billable because it's a fixed fee. But on the other hand, the expenses are billable. Likewise, you might have fee advances, on all of these cases, which might be going into the trust account or in the operating account. So your system, cannot be suitable for just one case or another case. You need to be able to account for all these variations so that once it is set, all your activities are already taken care of. Even though you might be doing a bunch of things, you shouldn't have to worry about, hey, which one is hourly, which one is fixed, and this and that. So your solution needs to be flexible, and it needs to be able to support varied type of matters. And this will avoid pitfall number 7. Now let's take a quick look at the application for a second. In this particular case, like for example, right now I have 3 matters. Let's say I want to get down to add the 4th one. When I add the 4th one, and this being a web application, you might see a little bit of lag on your side, and there are a lot of people on the GoToWebinar, so sometimes it slows down, but it's a pure web page which I'm displaying. So when I set up the matter, at that time I'm required to choose is it a hourly fixed fee or contingency. If it is a fixed fee, I need to specify what the fixed fee amount is. If it is a contingency, down the road you might assign, if there's a settlement, whatnot. And of course, if it's an hourly, then it's a pure hourly case. Once you set the matter, which you will see right here, that this is a contingency, this is an hourly, and whatnot, many of these activities. So for example, in this contingency, if I say record my time, if you look at a little bit closely, this time, no matter what I'm recording, is unbillable time. So it wouldn't really mess my system in terms of any kind of billable mistakes or whatnot. Okay, back to the PowerPoint. So with that, let's move to the next pitfall: retainer handling. This is a big one, often a source of a lot of confusion, and it doesn't have to be like this. We all love retainers. Lawyers love retainers, no question about that. It makes sure that we get paid, and it makes sure that we get an idea about the quality of the clients from a financial perspective right in the beginning. Now, for many other service businesses, in fact, almost all of the service businesses, any client advance you provide, it goes right into the business account. No question about that. Not so for the law firms. For law firms, often retainer is required to go into the trust account, and then you draw as the fee is earned. And in some states, we understand you are allowed to handle the retainers in the operating account, but still the funds needs to be tracked, and for each and every matter. So you need a good system which is going to kind of track it for you automatically, and like that. Now, what are the type of client funds? You could be earned fee. It could be unearned fee, which is basically advances. You could have cost advances. You might have settlement funds. And there could be other variety of funds. Determination of whether some of these funds are going to go into the trust account or operating account is kind of beyond the scope of this presentation. And even if, even otherwise, to a large degree, each state has different rules and guidance, So you got to follow, your jurisdiction and see what's being advised there. But nevertheless, your system needs to be able to take care of all that. In one matter, you might want to do this. Another matter, you might want to do something else. And you don't want to be kind of going back and forth into different type of books for that. So be aware of that. Also be aware that a large part of the disciplinary actions against the law firms are related to retainer handling. So it's something you don't want to take it casually. It's something you want to make sure that you have a robust plan for that. Don't do this. I mean, this is something which is mind-boggling that even this time and age, these kind of math is prevalent. Tracking client funds like this manually or loose spreadsheet is nothing but prone to errors. Calculations are very all over the place. Mistakes are hard to find, and even once you find the mistakes, those are very hard to fix. So you end up basically wasting hours tracking down a 5-cent discrepancy. So you get the point. Once you find the mistakes, recreating these records, takes a lot of time, a lot of printing, reprinting, and whatnot. You don't have to go through this. Make sure that these tracking, operating balances, retainer trust balances, whatnot, your system is able to help you out on that. Now, why does again become so clear, apart from the ethics requirement, on a day-to-day basis, what's the challenge? Well, first of all, when you produce bills, you need to show the advanced balance, right? So if your billing system doesn't know exactly how much you have in the operating account or in the trust account and this and that, then how would you display that accurately, right? That's because if any unused portion of the funds eventually will have to be returned. So you might as well track it properly and keep the customer informed that, what's the balance left like. You need a system which can alert you. So like, for example, if you are setting up a matter where you feel that you must always have a retainer balance of $5,000, then you need a system that if the balance falls below that, it wouldn't hurt to get alerted. It wouldn't hurt for a letter to be prepared automatically, and which you can send it out to your client saying that, listen, we started with $5,000. We have done this and this for you. The balance is low now. Please send a replenishment letter, and that's a very good practice to have. So let me go back to the application for a second. Now you would see that right here, as you select these different matters, there's an operating retainer button. So let's say you got $1,000 which you're putting in the operating account because you feel that this is going to be consumed very quickly. That's fine. You'll simply click the button, and the money will go into this particular account in your operating bank, but being credited against this particular client so that the balances are up to date. Trust transaction, the same thing. You have a trust retainer. You'll select that. It's going into your client's particular ledger. It's going into your trust account, but you are specifying the amount right going here, and then this will update your trust retainer balance right here. So to a large degree, all your accounting, trust accounting is happening as part of your billing system and not something separately. Okay, let's move to back to the next pitfall, which is unrecorded charges. Now, we all have heard that time is money, and but you need a system which is going to track the time. Otherwise, it is not money. So what happens? So if you don't track it, it will not get billed, and if you don't bill it, it's not going to get paid. So let's look at the specific challenge with the time tracking. Law practice by nature performs many of the services outside the office. Court appearances, settlement meetings, client meetings, real estate closings, you name it, often happen outside the office. All of this requires your ability to track your time in a mobile world rather than rebuilding your schedule from memory, right? So that's one challenge here. Now, when it comes to the expense tracking, the challenge is a little bit different because expenses are paid in a variety of ways: checks, credit cards, cash, whatnot. Each and every client expense must be tracked, as expense tracking is equally important as time tracking. Receipts are going to be very hard to lose and not allocated back to the matter. And once you track it, just tracking itself is not going to be enough. You need a plan and a system which can immediately allocate back to the matter. You may not be doing billing right now, that's fine, but if you spend $30 for the parking which is related to a particular case and you want to charge it, if you don't allocate it back right then and there, then there are very high chances that you will never capture that. So as we see that, in a mobile world, how do you solve these problems? And there are a variety of ways you can implement that. But it's critical to be aware that this is one of the issues where money gets lost all the time because often there's not a good system, and then eventually at the month end we are trying to recreate and go through a bunch of things. Let's go to pitfall number 4, which is one of the interesting ones: inefficient billing. This is again more common than what people like to admit, but for a second let's think about it. How do you produce your bills? One bill at a time, one matter at a time, one client at a time. How do you send your bills to your clients? Again, are you printing it and then stuffing it and in the envelope and whatnot? If this is what your setup is, which is, you have a system, either it's a manual or a spreadsheet or a software or something, whereby you are basically, generating one bill at a time, you're printing it, you're stuffing in an envelope, and you are sending it out. That's one way to do that. Now, even a solo firm can have tens of bills every month. And doing it this manner, and A, it takes time, B, it takes money, and it's just not efficient. So look into a batch billing practices, look into a batch billing mode whereby you are able to do this, which, what does that mean? You basically are, generating all these bills in a click, and then issuing those to each and every client, very individually personalized bills by email. And what you would take like 3 hours to do, probably you'll be able to do it in 3 minutes. So let's take a look at the application for a second, what we mean by that. So if I was to go to activities and invoice, and I say add invoice here, in a single click, I have right now my two of my clients who are waiting to be billed. They might have multiple time cards in that, and if I want to see, I can see the details. But I have 2 bills right now. I can generate those 2 bills, and they will immediately become into it. And if I had 50, those would be 50. So this is one way you can generate those bills. And then when it comes to sending it to the customers, you say email invoices. Right now I have 6 or 7 invoices which are waiting to be sent to my clients. I can select all of them, and I say email. And the system basically will provide you a cover letter, which you can change. It's going to merge it nicely to Dear John, attach it to your invoice, Dear Brian, attach it. Everybody will get their stuff at a click of a button. This is the way you can advance, you can automate many of your small practices, and things which takes hours and minutes, convert it into seconds. Okay, so that's what I would like to cover in the pitfall number 4, inefficient billing. Now, that's very interesting topic, inefficient collection. It's not something you will normally see, but many law firms let unpaid bills. So you have issued the bills and you're waiting to get paid. Well, don't wait there. I mean, this is a very, very common problem. And the longer you wait, and if you don't have a proper system for that, for the collection part, you're just prolonging the problem. Now, it's not like we don't like to do the collection. It's not like we don't like to collect the money and whatnot. But collecting those bills, which are piling up in these files, and and making calls and making, it's work. It's a lot of work. Can you have a system which works as a collection agent for you? So how can you leverage your billing system, your accounting system, and make it as if it's always alert and it's always collecting money for you? Now, few things we can do for that. So let's look at some of those steps. First of all, make it a practice to send periodic collection notices. Just like you issue bills on 1st of the month, pick a date, 10th of the month, 15th of the month. And at that time, without forgetting, you go and issue collection notices to all the people who are unpaid. They get reminded 30 days, they get reminded 60 days, and then something happens, then you got to worry about what you're going to do about the collection. So you do need to do that. Second one is the track retainer balances. We already talked about, if the money is already in the retainer, trust account. How many times we have seen where funds are already in the trust account, trust balances are there, and yet the law firms have not drawn against those. There's no need to that. If you are tracking these balances, you might as well apply that, draw it, move it in your business account, and keep it clean. We already talked about that, sending out replenishment notices when the balances are running low. Just like we generate the invoices, you can generate the replenishment letters and asking for, fill up the retainer balances. So these kind of things, and the next one is the track unbilled amounts. We already talked about that when you track the unbilled amounts, and if you need to bill it before, don't wait for the month end. You can do it in between, and that will help you as well. I believe that if you implement some or all of these practices in a diligent manner, what happens? You're likely to see this, which is basically lowering down your receivables making sure that your clients are aware. And if there's a dispute about there's a charge, if they have a question or this and that, at least you will know about this, right? Rather than hearing about it, 3 months from now. So let's take a look at the collection system from a application perspective. So right here you have a email reminder. So for example, right now I have 2 invoices, 2 customers whose matters are over my 30-day limit. No, I can have 45, 30, 15 days, whatever you want. And if I choose, I can choose all of them and I can email. Right from here, I'm issuing a collection notice along with a copy of the invoice. How many of us want to do this on a routine basis? And we can't, and we don't get to, because it just takes so much time to draft it in a proper manner and whatnot. So this is how, if you can leverage your system, let it act as a collection agent, I think it will go a long way. Okay, let's move on. And this is the most favorite topic which I have, which is overcomplicating trust fund accounting. Now, this is not a class or a seminar for trust accounting. That probably takes an hour by itself. But every law firm tries to keep trust accounts clean and accurate. But many either fail or they spend significant time doing so. And we all understand trust account mismanagement, even by accident, is a major source of ethics charges and disbursement proceeding across the country. So let's take a minute and look at the basics of trust accounting. Trust accounting is very easy if you really look at it from a top level. There is no profit and loss. This is not your money. You're not reporting it to anyone. There is no depreciation or amortization. It's not a capital expense or something which will depreciate over 15 years or something. There is no interest accumulation. Either your client gets the interest, or like in IOLTA cases, most of the interest, all the interest will go to the state. So it's not coming to you. You don't have to worry about that. There's no tax accounting. You don't report it on IRS. There's no 1040, whatnot. So, and there are no fees as well. Most banks, they do not charge any kind of fee, even wire fee or low balance fee or something for trust accounting. So you would think that this would be the easiest thing, right? Let's look at that. Trust accounting is hard. Why is that? You must track funds for each and every matter. Crucial part of that, right? You must reconcile your books monthly. Now, it's a good practice to reconcile all your books every month, whether it's an operating account or trust account. But nothing is more important for trust account than closing the books every month, because that's where you find the mistakes. That's where you find if anything is wrong in any way. Many of the states have a report, which is a required report called three-way reconciliation report, and that's again required to be produced, every month. You must maintain audit trail. I mean, if something went wrong a few months ago and now you are discovering it, how are you going to find out who did what and when and what happens and what not? It's pretty much a requirement for trust accounting. So often what goes wrong? I mean, what goes wrong is oftentimes we don't know enough rules about the trust-specific rules. This is very common. Keeping the billing and trust accounting books separate. Using one system for billing, something else for trust accounting. It's a problematic situation because now you are likely to run into many issues which you simply can prevent those. And this is another one which is not prevention of trust mistakes. Oftentimes the common trust mistakes are trust funds get commingled. Client A's money, matter A's money went into matter B. There is an overdraft on the matter. There might be money in the bank account. Doesn't mean that there's a money in the matter ledger. And so when you draw the check, if your system can prevent you from drawing the check because there is no money for that particular matter, how cool that would be. And this common problem will just simply go away. Unclear funds. This is another big issue. You issued a check and it never got cleared. And it's still, from your side, you issued it. It's gone. Well, nobody cleared it from the bank, and how you're going to handle that, and how your books are going to report it to you. So those are important. Bank reconciliation is sloppy. That's another issue. We already talked about that. How critical it is to keep the billing and trust systems together, and that will basically prevent, because there's so much overlap, and unfortunately we don't have a lot of time to talk about it. But there's so much overlap that there is no point in doing it double entries and triple entries and checking here and checking there. Somehow keep it simple, and life will be cool. That brings me to the final one, which is pitfall number 1. In today's time, lack of mobility. Nature, as we talked about, you're all over the place. You need to be able to access your books on the go, from your phone, from your iPad, from your PC, Mac, whatever you're using. Your bookkeeper, an accountant, needs access too. If they had access to, your data from any time, any place, it would be helpful, and they'll be able to help you in a more meaningful manner. So that's one area. Complexity. We already talked about many items where we overcomplicate everything. It doesn't have to be this. It's a simple problem. It's not that complicated. We make it complicated because we just kind of don't think through from a top-down approach. And by far the most important one, lack of data protection. In the law firm, inadequate data protection, doing backups from one machine to another is not a backup, it's a copy. Oftentimes we see law firms claiming that they have a good backup system, but they have no idea what they are backing up, where they are backing up. Have you ever tried to retrieve something? Is your backup good, whatnot. So ultimately, to avoid this, which is, overcomplicating and doing things in 10 different ways, or this, which is a proliferation of devices where you need access to your data and, whatnot, what you need to do is consider cloud-based applications. Things have changed, it has gone a long way. Your small firm benefits from mobility, freedom from IT issues, data security issues, and fixed costs. I mean, rather than a variable cost where you don't know what expense and what machine and when it will break down and how much customer support and IT support you will need. You know what your cost will be on a monthly or annual basis. So that's something which we always like to advise our small business customers. So with that, in summary, I would like to say that today's small law firms that embrace the technology can gain competitive advantages. A little time spent deploying, specialized tools for law firms gives any attorney the opportunity to avoid many of these common billing mistakes and trust accounting mistakes which we talked about. I hope my presentation was worth your time, and at this time, we'll take questions.